We have a panel, and I would like to invite Craig Chapple from Steel Media and his lovely panelists, and I will let Craig introduce everyone.
We're all here, and we've got a packed audience. Again, what we love to see. So again, hello everyone. Thanks so much for attending today. We've got a great session here. I'm Craig Chapple, head of content at PocketGamer.biz. I'm the least interesting person up here. We'll get to the panelists in a second. We're going to talk about MENA's rising star. How can the region compete on the global stage? So we're going to talk about the rapid growth of the MENA market, which has been supercharged by big investments across the region's games industry. And they'll discuss opportunities in the Middle East and North Africa, where investment is needed, and how local publishers can become global powerhouses. So quite a lot to cover. We've got like 40 minutes, but we'll do it. But yeah, we'll start with a few introductions. So if you could please tell the audience who you are and a bit about yourself. So we'll start with you, Kadri, and we'll move down.
Yes, is this on? Is it?
You need to turn it on.
Testing, yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Kadri Harma. I am currently working with Sisu Game Ventures, so investing in early stage game studios. And also I am the founder of GameFounders, which is a games accelerator that's been around for 12 years already. And we actually ran a program for 2 years in Saudi Arabia. And also I was myself the CEO of 966, a Savvy Games group company. And I was building the games ecosystem in the region for the past 2 years. So that's why maybe I know a few things about the region.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Kurdyumova. I'm co-founder of Futura Digital, is a consulting company focusing on legal, financial, and accounting services. And we have a special focus on game dev companies. A lot of my friends and clients are from game developers or publishers or investors in this sphere. And I'm here, we are based here in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And for 2 past years, I've seen significant increase of requests for me as a lawyer to relocate businesses and teams here to GCC region. And I think that's why I'm here, to share my expertise from legal perspective.
Hello, my name's John Lacey. I've been in the MENA region 20 years, working in the gaming industry for about 15 years. 2020, joined Tencent Games, country manager of our Level Infinite brand, which publishes games like PUBG Mobile and Honor of Kings. That's it.
Hi everyone, I'm Aisha Alazab from Dubai SME. That's Mohamed Barashid Fund for Small and Medium Enterprises. We're present here at the event sponsoring as Dubai Next. It's a crowdfunding platform that's been open for the last 3 years. We are supporting people who have ideas to get their business model funded through the community and then have their plans on earth, launching the businesses in Dubai.
Hello, hey everyone. I'm Mohamed Zaher. I'm an analyst at Niko Partners. We are a market research company in the gaming industry. We've been covering the gaming industry in Asia and MENA for the last 22 years. And we're doing market research, data sets, and we look at the market from an analysis perspective to offer strategic solutions for companies that want to invest in the MENA industry, in the gaming industry, so that they can take a strategic business decisions in the future, basically.
All right, thanks very much, everyone. So we'll get cracking on the big questions. So the first kind of obvious question, I guess, is what's been driving the growth in the MENA region's kind of games industry? And also, I guess, one, from an industry perspective, and two, from kind of a consumer and spending perspective. I don't know, like Mohamed, you've obviously got a lot of data with Niko partners. You've been looking into it.
So one thing we can start with, and we found out in the last of our reports, according to our surveys, that, for example, like 71.5% of gamers in the MENA region, which is Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Egypt, engage with esports at some capacity. So that means they're watching esports, or they are participating in content creation, or they are engaging with esports, basically. So that's one of the biggest drivers for the gaming industry, like as from the gamer's perspective, at least. So yeah, that's one of the factors. So
Anyone else, Kadri?
I think that a lot of the growth and the visibility and everything is also driven by the government support, I would say, because there's a lot of events. We are right now in one of these events, and also if you look at, for instance, Saudi Arabia as well, there is an event every 2 months almost. So there is ample opportunity, and the governments are also trying to encourage everybody from the industry to go to these places and to see all the opportunities. And I mean, very obviously also money. I mean, there is a lot of investment coming from the region. Maybe it is not super structured yet, but there's definitely resources there that will hopefully form into fabulous game funds, and then it would be even more opportunity for the industry to come here.
I have a fun fact to add. In terms of business ideas that we got uploaded on Dubai Next or published to the community to get fundraising, we had doubled the number of last year's gaming business ideas. So hopefully those people are participating here in hall number 5. So hopefully we'll come out with good number of success stories after this event.
That's great. Did you? It looked like you were burning to answer the question. Otherwise,
Mike or I'll answer. No, I think one of the biggest points when it comes to MENA is we've been predominantly a console-first market for the majority of the last decade. So 2010, 2020, console dominated the MENA market with a few titles, really, FIFA, Call of Duty, these sorts of titles. And then post sort of 2018, 2019, we become very much a mobile-first market, and that's really changed the landscape of how people view the MENA market, how people view publishing, how people view localization of their resources, esports. I think we're one of the few markets when it comes to a sort of step change in the device that people are using. And that certainly hasn't happened everywhere in the world. If you live in Asia and you play games in Asia, then you're very familiar with mobile games and the variety of mobile games there are. And we don't even have that level of variety. But I think what's really, really driven the gaming industry in the last 5 years, and will continue to drive the gaming industry in MENA, is the adoption of users to the mobile device. And that's something that we really believe in as a mobile-first publisher as well. So I think that would be a headline for me, is the growth of mobile gaming.
Yeah, I actually agree with John about this, because when we look at the demographics of the gamers right now, and then we see like the younger, like before when we were like in the console and the PC, the gamers demographics were a little bit on the like 25 and above, but now the entry age for gamers to start in the mobile gaming, it's getting lower. So that's why we see like gamers starting from 14 and up. Playing video games on their mobile devices. So yeah, it's also like one of the biggest drivers of the market right now.
I actually wanted to touch upon one of the things that was mentioned there about esports. So why do you think there's such big investment in esports in this region? So maybe globally, some esports games that you think were massive weren't actually as profitable as you thought they were, and as the esports winter at the moment. So, but why is there such a big opportunity here, do you think?
Well, one of the biggest drivers for the esports, or esports being very big in MENA, is the government investments, of course. And we can see like the big prize pools that's being offered either from the sponsors or from the government entities that's sponsoring the events, as well as the community revolving around the esports games. So if there's an esport game or like a game with a competitive element, then the gamers, they create their own community within the game, and then they compete with each other and they play with each other. That's one of the biggest drivers for esports. So, for example, like in my country, in Egypt, we see a lot of local esports competitions going in the internet cafes, for example, and we can see this also like happening in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. So, yeah, that's one of the biggest drivers as well, the community itself and the community that's being created around the esports.
One of the things I wanted to ask, we kind of touched upon it there as well, is it seems like we're in the early stages of MENA's growth on the global stage. So where do you think investment is needed right now in the industry? And I guess one of the questions we were talking about, there's money being invested, I guess, bringing studios in, but how can governments and local companies support education initiatives, for example, and develop local talent to kind of grow that pool of expertise? I don't know, Kadri, if you had experience kind of with GameFounders.
Yeah, sure. I can spend an hour here. But I think in general, everything is being done. And we were actually discussing about this before, that it feels like all the questions are the same and all the answers are the same from previous year. And this is true, because if you talk about education, you don't do it in a year. So everybody just needs to keep on investing in this and keep on working with universities, keep on finding internship positions for young people that they can practice what they learn, and all of this, it just takes time. But I think that a lot of the governmental initiatives in all of the countries are actually in really good places. So there are both things being done together with universities, as well as incubators, accelerators popping up everywhere. So I think this is something that needs to be done, just let's say rinse and repeat for a good 5 years, and I think then it will be a different kind of panel and different kind of answers that we can give here.
That was a great answer. And I guess, does investing in the industry mean bringing in kind of international companies to set up here, or is it about investing in local companies, or maybe both? Obviously, Tencent's kind of coming in, and I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but
that one's going to be for me, yeah. Look. It's the age-old question: do you bring expertise in from outside, or do you use expertise that are already here? I think if you've been to the Middle East enough, and you've been to Dubai, and I was saying yesterday in another talk that if you look at the region through the lens of Dubai, you discover that it's a combination, a balance of many things. So I'm not just saying that as a PC answer. It is a balance of local expertise and international. There are things that people do not have the expertise in here, fundamental, and they will not for maybe a few decades, few generations. And people appreciate, that they need to bring people in from the outside. And then the other way around, there are things that you can't do if you're sitting in Singapore or LA or London. You have to have the insights, and you have to have the people here. And that's at all levels of seniority. It's not just about, people tend to think that when you talk about talent, it's about young people, but it's not. It's at all levels. You need a balance at all levels. It's not just about the youth. But I think what's sort of the driving force behind it, with your question on esports and on talent as well and everything, and where is this all coming from? I think it's down to having a young leadership who grew up as loving games. If you have someone in charge of a sovereign wealth fund that plays games, then it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a perfect storm. So yeah, that's a simple way to look at it. But yeah, I think that's inspiring. I think there's a lot of ways to be inspired in the gaming industry here. I don't speak from the perspective of other countries because I've been here 20 years, so I only have the perspective from here. But I think it's easy to see the opportunities in this region. In Dubai particularly, it's easy to get your hands on those opportunities. And it's easy for young people to be inspired by that and to work with a good balance of international and local talent altogether. So I think that's what it is. It's about localize all your resources with the right blend of talent, and then you'll have success.
and echo that from a legal perspective. I see this attitude of government to bring foreign talents here and to make easier and more transparent process of being here from legal perspective as well, because for example, UAE has very liberal immigration legislation, and it's quite easy to obtain a resident visa for you and for your team to be here. And also you can see it in documents, because each country has its vision. For example, UAE, Qatar, Saudi has their vision 2030, and all this vision have very same plans to bring foreign talents and to keep them here. And they implement a lot of initiatives how to do it, how to support it, how to subsidize them, and how to make all process of legislation more attractive to these foreigners.
So I was thinking then about this is more of just a comment than a question, but the growth of, say, like China's games industry and growing international, kind of Tencent comes into that in the sense that I think you had in Japan like GRI and DNA kind of, they grew really big locally, but they actually struggled to expand overseas, even when they set up studios overseas. Whereas like with Tencent, there seems to be like a deep integration with kind of different regions, and so they've been able to expand kind of successfully globally. So it was just a comment.
We had a couple of more success stories as startups from Dubai Next who have been selling within the MENA region. Whether it's a tangible product or a website that's open from Dubai Free Zone towards everyone. So yeah, we had a couple of successful entrepreneurs that I want to mention. You can go ahead on dubainext.ae and see where they've reached. And yeah, at the end, since the link is there between the supporters and the entrepreneurs with ideas, and the government support is there, so there's more potential towards those kind of success stories within time.
One of the key questions I wanted to ask during this panel was, you've got a lot of publishers in MENA that, correct me if I'm wrong, are seen as kind of local publishing partners, like, with expertise in the region. But how do these companies actually break out and go global? So like, what's the next stage and how do we get there?
But do they need to? Like my question, rather, like what I feel is what the industry in the region really needs. I mean, obviously we have a few, and I'm not trying to make their role smaller, but I think there needs to be more local publishers looking at the local players, because right now, I mean, obviously there are a few, but this is something that still needs to be reinforced. Like, I think we still need to have these stories of global games being localized to MENA and having the success story. So I think there is still even room to grow here and to have the potential for the publishers to emerge here. But I mean, I think going globally, then it's a totally different business plan. So it really depends on what the company was built for.
I would say it comes back to sort of content in some regards and pop culture. So, you know, there is a bigger movement, I suppose, on the entertainment front in the region, whether it's film, music, whatever genre, you know, to try and push local content out globally. So if you look at, suppose, the cycle that's gone through in, say, Korea with K-pop. No one was listening to K-pop 20 years ago. And I think the biggest challenge, say, for the Asian businesses over the last few decades has been, how do they tap into pop culture? How do their brands become relevant? Whereas, you know, if you easily compare them to any US brand or UK brand, they're leading pop culture, but that has shifted. So I think, you know, at a sort of macro level, the Middle East needs to have that presence and that dialogue with global users. And I think an avenue for that is gaming. So we see more and more and more of our local beats, if you like, within our games transcend to other countries. So easy one is Ramadan. If you go 10 years back, yeah, there might have been some Ramadan content put into games, but now as live service comes along and live content, you can easily plug in Ramadan content and that element of culture on a global level. And then that goes, again, for many, many other things. So it could be a company or a brand from any industry or any genre that plugs itself into the gaming industry through some kind of attractive content. That is then rolled out to other markets. It might not be global to start with, but you might see content that is enjoyed here, enjoyed in Southeast Asia. So that's a way for developers, it's not just developers, the whole industry, to have presence elsewhere and get recognition, primarily from gamers. If gamers enjoy content from the region, then that will encourage people to make games, in that guise. So I think that's probably a more likely scenario of how the gaming industry can transcend from here to the rest of the world. And it's probably already, not probably, it is happening. The Ramadan example is just a very obvious one, but there are lots of other examples of where that happens.
Sorry, I thought you were about to chime in there, Mohamed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
No, no.
No, it's just me. But I actually wanted to kind of add on to that. So one of the questions here, and you kind of answered there, but what makes a successful game in MENA, and why are some AAA games more successful than others in MENA markets? And then what strategies do you employ to foster and engage, to foster vibrant and engaged player communities? But does it start from you do actually have to create a game that's for the local markets, or do you just look, I'm going to make a game for a global market?
I mean, I can answer that. So one of the things that's really important about making a game for MENA, or like having a game successful in MENA, one of the key factors is having it well localized. And not just localized, but like now we're taking it a step further and being like culturalized. So the game is not just having an accurate Arabic translation or Arabic localization, but the game would touch actually the people in the region and at least deviate away from the regular stereotypes that we can see in the movies, in the video games, I'm sorry, which is like now the gamers are kind of getting tired of, just seeing the whole world, city turn and weapons and being all in the desert and everything like this. Gamers are starting to get tired of this stereotype and they want something to be more representative of their culture and more touching with them as a young audience, like we mentioned before, as people that are young and they are tech savvy and they want that. And the thing is, our gamers here are really vocal about what they want and what the things that they really need about the game. So, for example, if we are taking this also into a macro level and talking about it, one of the games, a mobile game, had a 3% daily active users from the region here, right? But then after they localized their game and it was localized well, that number increased it to 80% in 3 months. So that shows you how much impactful a good localization is for a game. So that's one of the things that really helps games success in the region, as well as building a community, because here community is really important, with the players playing with each other and talking with each other. So one of the reasons that we saw that a lot of board games or casual games or even some shooter games are really successful is that they enable the voice chat, because people like to communicate with each other when they're playing and they like to talk with each other. So therefore that's also another key factor of a game being successful in the region. So yeah, and among really there is a lot of factors that contribute to that, but I think those are some of the key factors.
Yeah. No, that was a really, really insightful answer. Thank you. So one of the questions we've got as well is, what role do you see new technologies like AR, VR, AI, Web3, all the kind of buzz terms, but what role do you see them kind of playing in the growth of the MENA games industry? We had Jeff just talking about AI and AI native, for example.
I'm not a specialist in any of these, but what I am seeing, especially around Web3, is that I feel that it's globally maybe a less regulated field if you look at in general about what kind of games are built. And I think this really presents an opportunity, and a little bit I also feel that Dubai in particular is really grabbing that opportunity to be the first one to be almost like known as the global hub for Web3 and related programs. So I think there are opportunities in let's say less ventured areas of the industry that the region is really taking advantage of.
Do you think though that, because we were mentioning about kind of mobile audiences earlier, that's kind of the way to tap growth? Do you think we're going to see like these trends, but I guess some of these through mobile? So Web3 is just going to be, you're going to access that through mobile here. You're not going to access that through an AR or VR platform or a PC platform. Is mobile still kind of the growth forward for this industry, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I would say that the gaming industry has driven so many technologies forward already, and it will continue to do so. So it's at the forefront of many innovations, many technologies that are not only utilized or brought to bear on those games and on the development process and on the devices. That even from an early R&D stage, the leading minds in the gaming industry are behind some of those technologies and furthering them. So yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. Yep.
Another question I want to ask, how significant has Savvy Games Group's kind of $38 billion investment funds been for generating actually more investment and interest across the MENA region? Like I heard, I was speaking with Norcrace at Mesa Awards, and he was saying that, and obviously we've got a lot of investment in Dubai, is actually driving other governments to be like, oh, we need to be investing in this as well just to compete. So I wanted to I know you, you could talk about like the competition, I guess, between countries.
Yeah. I think that competition here run not only through investments, but sure, it's very huge and crucial thing, but also through subsidies, as I said, and it's very important to subsidize people, to encourage them to relocate, and through making this very conservative legislation. When we talk about Saudi, it's one of the most conservative legislation compared to Dubai, for example, compared to UAE, more attractive for foreigners. And I see that Saudi has a strong desire to do so, and we see positive trend, positive dynamic, how they make all processes more transparent and accessible for people. They have a special IT relocation program, for example, and I'm sure that you know that they have relocation grants. Also, for example, for IT business, you can obtain IT visa, and it's less than a month, and it's only $2,500, and with no minimal requirement of capital, and with foreign ownership, and it's like fairy tale, because for regular business, for regular business license, it's painful a little bit to establish your business in Saudi, and for IT business it becomes easier. So I see that they has their strategy, this 2030, to encourage people to relocate, and it reflects not only through investments but also through legislation.
I guess the question was also a little bit to me. So, having worked at the Savvy Games Group for the past 2 years, I have to say the impact has been enormous. But but seriously, I think that just having the number out there and just having a few of those bigger investments made is something that is enough to have the whole industry's eyes on the region and on the country specifically. So I think, like, even just from a PR perspective, I think it's very much huge, and it's also making it, let's say, more comfortable for other studios from the West looking at this region as now being interested in investing in games, looking at games. So I think just opening everything up with this is something that has definitely been achieved. But I think it's not only the savvy and it's not only the number that is happening. I think all of these news coming from all the different countries, like everything that Jordan is doing, everything that Abu Dhabi is doing, everything that Dubai is doing, and the fact that everything is happening at the same time, this is something that really escalates it further and makes the whole region super interesting.
I think people are just very positive towards the industry. I think that's a big plus. You know, the government's very open. They want to have a dialogue. They want to explore the opportunities. It might not always be, about a check that gets signed. In some cases it is. But they're looking at the bigger picture and the bigger impact that gaming can have, and the entire industry can have. And again, that's not limited just to one country, as everybody said. It's something that's happening across the whole region. There is the headline grabbers out there, but that's good as well, because again, it creates a lot of positivity and a lot of aspiration towards that industry that sometimes is dragged down and through the mud every now and then.
I want to speak about the competition in this field, since the opportunities and the support is there. So there's a huge competition when you speak about game creators or people with ideas. So it's always how well you can stand out from this competition to prove that I believe in my idea, so the community, or I'm going to have enough demand of players towards my game. So that's a huge competitor to your success too.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with the government support is such a huge thing to have for your industry. As someone from the UK games industry, where obviously we have a bustling industry, but we've really had to fight for government support, especially with tax initiatives, that you can just see how important it is when you can kind of skip a level, perhaps. You don't have to fight as hard to get that because they're already willing. So we've got a few minutes left. I have one more question, but unless anyone in the audience has a question they want to ask the panel. All right, I'll ask my last question. So I guess this is a very much a last question, right? So what predictions do you have for the games industry in MENA over the next 5 to 10 years? How big do you think the local market could be? How big do you think the industry hub will be? Like, what are your predictions?
Well, I can start with the numbers.
Please.
Yeah, so right now, like the MENA 3 market stands at like $1.92 billion in revenue, okay? That's according to our estimates. And this will jump in 5 years to 2.65 billion in revenue. And as well as the gamers, so now we're looking at like 68.7 million gamers across MENA 3 region. And by the way, so like the UAE, for example, it accounts for 11% of the gamers, but 33% of the revenue. So it's a really huge market as a revenue base. But also like the gamers numbers would jump in 5 years to like 75 million gamers. So that's like a huge number. And with the whole demographics, it's like the gamers are getting older, or like getting more seasons into gaming from now, and then like the younger generation as well, like the ones that are like now 6 and 7, and they're like getting used to gaming and getting used to having like this interactive entertainment, sort of like entertainment in their life. So it's all going to like all the estimates and everything that points to the direction of the market, it says it's going up and it's going to be bigger and more. So yeah. So all the expectations about the market in 5 years or in 7 years or in 3 years, they're all indicating it's going into the right direction.
Any other predictions?
Yes, I think the Pocket Gamer GameExpo Summit is going to be 3 times as big already next year. But seriously, I think that all these gateways into the industry and into the region is very important. Every time I'm seeing a few more faces from like Finland, from Sweden, from places that you don't really, select your first market or your first choice. Yes, hi, I'm Minio. And I think this is really cool that we are providing people the opportunity to come here, see for themselves, look for partners, and I think this is how everything evolves. But since I am in my heart still, in the early stages, in the pre-seed round, I still very much am rooting for the talent, because I think it's very important that we have global companies and international companies come here, but what is even more important is that the local talent will be upgraded to a level that they can provide, at first juniors and then also seniors that are experienced from the region and that can really affect shaping their own local economy.
I'm being filmed by our head of comms, so I'll do a shameless plug as well. Now, download Honor of Kings today in fully localized Arabic. Look, I think the next sort of 10 years is super exciting for the gaming industry here because of the optimism, because of the focus on mobile, which I think is just going to explode even further. I've said it before, but just to repeat. And I think the presence of government in every single aspect of the gaming industry and trying to drive that forward and having the right dialogues, and particularly what we've seen in esports. I think, we're now going to witness a huge change for the esports landscape, which has gone a little bit into the doldrums maybe in recent times, even though it's a very young industry, with the investment that's coming from various nations across the region, with the Esports World Cup coming. Super excited to be part of that, and there's a lot of other publishers here as well, and a lot of other developers who've got games in the Esports World Cup. So the fact that government is trying to do something for the industry as a whole, and it's easy to be cynical about these things as well, for various reasons. But I think the acid test will be how it's received by the gamers. So if the gamers appreciate the investments, the gamers appreciate the resources that are being deployed here and globally, then that's going to really, really change the mood and change people's perspective on the Middle East. So I think efforts on a global level, like the Esports World Cup, and the presence of major titles in those, we're talking pretty much every major AAA that can be played at a pro level in the esports genre is there. So it's a super exciting initiative, and they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. Okay, one more note. When we talk about legislation and laws themselves, we are talking about providing arsenal, how to make everything happen, how to turn all strategies into reality. And I see a lot of changes now, and I can predict a lot of changes in future. We already have here in UAE English law directly applied in some free zones in IDGM and DFC, so you can just use all these precedents from English law, all these tools for investments, options, and so on. And I know that Saudi is now trying to implement English law as well, and they announced that they are launching new legislation about free zones, including English law, so I hope that they will launch it next year. And about Web3, for example, in UAE they have a special free zone in Ras Al Khaimah, Ragdao, and they launched it last year as well with a special license for Web3. So all companies now can opportunity to have their business in legal field with real Web3 license. So yeah, I see that there are a lot of changes now, and I predict them in future.
Definitely a very exciting time for the industry, and no pressure to Chris and the events team, 3,000 people next year. Anyway, thanks so much to the panel. Please give a big round of applause. That was great. Thank you.